16. Then the word of the Lord came to Jehu, son of Hananiah, against Baasha. I lifted you up from the dust and made you leader of my people Israel, but you walked in the ways of Jeroboam and caused my people Israel to sin and to provoke me to anger by their sin. So I am about to consume Baasha and his house. And I will make your house like the Jeroboam son of Nebat. Dogs will eat those belonging to Baasha who die in the city, and the birds of the air will feed on those who die in the country. As for the other events of Baasha's region, what he did and his achievements, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Baasha rested with his fathers and was buried in Tisra, and Eret's son of succeeded him as king. Moreover, the word of the Lord came through the prophet Jehu, son of Hananiah, to Baasha and his house, because of all the evil he had done in the eyes of the Lord, provoking him to anger by the things he did, and becoming like the house of Jeroboam, and also because he destroyed it. In the 26th year of Baasha king of Judah, Elah son of Baasha became king of Israel, and he reigned in Cheretah 2 years. Jimra, one of his officers who had commanded of help his chariots, plotted against him. Elah was in Tisra at the time, getting drunk in the home of Artha, and the man in charge of the palace at Tisra. Jimri came in, struck him down, and killed him in the 27th year of Baasha king of Judah. Then he succeeded him as king. As soon as he began to reign and was seated on the throne, he killed Baasha's whole family. He did not spare a single male, whether relative or friend. So Jimri destroyed the whole family of Baasha in accordance with the whole word of the Lord spoken against Baasha through the prophet Jehu. Because of all the sins Baasha and his son Elah had committed and had caused Israel to commit, so that they provoked the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger by their worthless idols. As for the other events of Elah's region and all he did, they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. In the 27th year of Baasha king of Judah, Jimri reigned in Tisra 7 days. An army was encamped near Gibeah, a Philistine town. When the Israelites in the camp heard that Jimri had plotted against the king and murdered him, they proclaimed Omer, the commander of the army, king over Israel that very day there in the camp. Then Omer and all the Israelites with him withdrew from the Gibeah and laid siege to Tisra. When Jimri saw that the city was taken, he went into the citadel of the royal palace, and the palace on fire around him. So he died, because of the sin he had committed, doing evil in the eyes of the Lord, and walking in the ways of Jeroboam, and in the sin he had committed and had caused Israel to commit. As for the other events of Jimri's region and the rebellion he carried out, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Then the people of Israel were split into 2 factions. Half supported Tibni, son of Ginat, for king, and the other half supported Omer. But Omer's followers proved stronger than those of Tibni, son of Gitat. So Tibni died and Omer became king. In the 31st year of Baasha king of Judah, Omri became king of Israel, and he reigned 12 years, 6 of them in Tisra. He bought the hill of Samaria on the Shimmer for 2 talents of silver and built the city on the hill, calling it Samaria. After Shimmer, the name of the former owner was of the hill, but Omer did evil in the eyes of the Lord and sinned more than all those before him. He walked in all the ways of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, and in his sin, which he had caused Israel to commit, so that they provoked the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger by their worthless idols. As for the other events of Omer's region, what he did in the things he achieved, are they not written in the books of the annals of the king of Israel? Omer rested with his father and was buried in Samaria, and Ahab his son succeeded him as king. In the 38th year of Baasha king of Judah, Ahab son of Omer became king of Israel, and he reigned in Samaria over Israel 22 years. Ahab son of Omer did more evil in the eyes of the Lord than any of those before him. He not only considered it trouble to commit the sins of Jeroboam son of Nebat, but he also married Jeroboam daughter of Itub, king of the Sidonians, and began to serve Bala and worship him. He set up an altar for Bala in the temple of Baal that he built in Samaria. Ahab also made an Asherah pole and did more to provoke the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger than did all the kings of Israel before him. In Ahab's time, Hill the battle rebuilt Jericho. He laid its foundations at the cost of his firstborn son Abraham, and he set up his gate at the cost of his youngest son Segub, in accordance with the word of the Lord spoken by Joshua son of Nun. 17. Now Israel the Tishbe from Tishbe in Gilead said to Ahab, As the Lord the God of Israel lives, whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word. Then the word of the Lord came to Asa, Leave here, turn eastward, and hide in the Kerith Raven, east of Jordan. You will drink from the brook, and I have ordered the ravens to feed you there. So he did what the Lord had told him. He went to Kerith Raven, east of the Jordan, and stayed there. The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the brook. Some time later the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land. Then the word of the Lord came to him, Go at once to Japheth of Sidon and stay there. I have commanded a widow to that place to supply you with food. So he went to Japheth. When he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called to her and asked, Would you bring me a little water in the jar so I may have a drink? As she was going to get it, he called, And bring me please a piece of bread. As surely as the Lord your God lives, she replied, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little oil in the jug. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die. Israel said to her, Don't be afraid. Go home and do as you have said. But first make a small cake of bread for me from what you have and bring it to me. And then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel says. The jar of flour will not be used up and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day of the Lord gives rain on the ground. She went away and did as Israel had told her. So there was food every day for Israel and for the woman and her family. So the jar of flour was not used up and the jug of oil not run dry. In keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Israel, some time later on the son of a woman who owned the house became ill. He grew worse and finally stopped breathing. She said to herself, What do you have against me, man of God? Did you come to remind me of my sin and kill my son? Give me your son, Israel replied. He took him from her arms, carried him to the upper room where he was staying, and laid him on his bed. Then he cried out to the Lord, O Lord my God, have you brought tragedy also upon this widow I am staying with, because by causing her son to die? Then he stretched himself out on the boy 3 times and cried out to the Lord, O Lord my God, let this boy's life return to him. The Lord heard Elisa's cry, and the boy's life returned to him, and he lived. Elisa picked up the child and carried him down from the room into the house. He gave it to the mother and said, Look, your son is alive. Then the woman said to Elisa, Now I know that you are the man of God, and that the word of the Lord from your mouth is the truth. 18. After a long time, in the 3rd year, the word of the Lord came to Elisa, Go and present yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain on the land. So Elisa went to present himself to Ahab. Now the Benjamin was serving in Samaria, and Ahab had summoned Obadiah, who was in charge of his palace. Obadiah was a devout believer in the Lord, while Jezebel was killing up the Lord's prophet. Obadiah had taken 100 prophets and hidden them in 2 caves, 50 in each, and had supplied them with food and water. Ahab had said to Obadiah, Go through the land to all the springs and valleys. Maybe we can find some grass to keep the horse and mules alive, so we will not have to kill any of our animals. So they divided the land they were to cover, Ahab going in one direction and Obadiah in another. As Obadiah was walking along, Elisa met him. Obadiah recognized him, bowed down to the ground and said, Is it really you, my lord Elisa? Yes, he replied. Go tell your master Elisa is here. What have I done wrong? Asked Obadiah, that you are handing your servant over to Ahab to be put to death. As surely as the Lord your God lives, there is another nation of kingdom where my master has not sent someone to look for you. And whenever a nation of kingdom claimed you were not there, he made them swear they could not find you. But now you you tell me to go to my master and say, I will say, sir, I don't know where the Spirit of the Lord may carry you, and I leave you. If I go and tell Ahab, and he doesn't find you, he will kill me. Yet I, your servant, have worshipped the Lord since my youth. Haven't you heard, my Lord, what I did with Jealousy was killing the prophets of the Lord? I hid 100 of the Lord's prophets in 2 caves, 50 in each, and supplied them with food and water. And now you tell me to go to my master and say, Elisha, sir, he will kill me. Elisha said, As the Lord Almighty lives, whom I serve, I will surely present myself to Ahab today. So Obadiah went to meet Ahab and told him, and Ahab went to meet Elisha. When he saw Elisha, he said to him, Is that you troubler of Israel? I have not made trouble for Israel, Elisha replied, but you and your father's family have. You have abandoned the Lord's commands and have followed the Baals. Now summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel, and bring the 450 prophets of Baals and 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jeroboam's table. So Ahab sent word throughout all Israel and assembled the prophets on Mount Carmel. Elisha went before the people and said, How long will you waver between the two options? If the Lord is God, follow him, but if Baal is God, follow him. But the people said nothing. Then Elisha said to them, I am the only one of the Lord's prophets left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Get 2 bulls for me, let them choose one for themselves, and let them cut it into pieces, and put it on the wood, but not set it on fire. I will prepare the other bull, and put it on the wood, but not set it on fire. Then you call on the name of your God, and I will call on my name of the Lord. The God who answers my fire, he is God. Then all the people said, What you say is good. Elisha said to the prophet of Baal, Choose one of the bulls and prepare it first. Since there are so many of you, call on the name of your God, but do not light your fire. So they took the bull given them and prepared it. Then they called the name of Baal from morning till noon. O Baal, answer us, they shouted, but there was no recession. No one answered, and they danced around the altar they had made. At noon, Elisha began to taunt them. Shout louder, he said, surely he is God. Prepare. Perhaps he's deep in dew, or busy, or traveling. Maybe he's sleeping and must be awake. So they shouted louder and slashed themselves with sword and spears, as was their custom, until their blood flowed. Midday passed, and they continued their frantic proposing until the time of the evening sacrifice. But there was no response. No one answered. No one paid attention. Then Elisha said to all the people, Come here to me. They came to him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord, which was in ruins. Elisha took 12 stones, one for each tribe descendants from Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord had come, saying, Your name shall be Israel. With the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord, and he dug a trench around it large enough to hold 2 seahs of seed. He arranged the wood, cut the bull into pieces, and laid it on the wood. Then he said to them, Fill 4 larger jars with water and pour it on the offering and on the wood. Do it again, he said, and they did it again. Do it the 3rd time, he ordered, and they did it the 3rd time. The water ran down around the altar and even filled the trench. At the time of sacrifice, the prophet Elisha stepped forward and prayed, O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and I have done all those things at your command. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood and the stones of the soil, and also licked up the water in the trench. When all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and cried, The Lord, he is God, the Lord, he is God. Then Elisha commanded them, Seize the prophet of Baal, don't let anyone get away. Then seized them, and Elisha had them brought down on the Kidron Valley and slaughtered them. And Elisha said to Ahab, Go, eat and drink, for there is the sound of the heavy rain. So Ahab went up to eat and drink, but Elisha climbed up the top of the camel, bent down to the ground, and put his hand between his knees. Go and look toward the sea, he told his servant, and he went up and looked. There is nothing there, he said. 7 times Elsa said, Go back. The 7th time the servant reported, A cloud as small as a man's head is rising from the sea. So Elsa said, Go and tell Ahab, hitch up your chariots and go down before the rain stops you. Meanwhile, the sky grew black with clouds, and a wind rose. A heavy rain came under Ahab's roof of the chariots. The power of the Lord came upon Elsa, and tucking his cloak into his belt, ran ahead of Ahab all the way to Jericho.